There you go. Yeah, remember how you can mute stuff?
Huh?
You remember how you can mute and too? You can hit the thing, and if you want to mute yourself, see the little mute button?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead.
Because I'm not going to be talking to
Okay.
anybody
All
anyhow.
right, you're good.
All right. So thank you, Lenny.
You got it. You're ready to roll.
Boy, look who it is.
Good afternoon, Kima. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. My favorite movie star.
Listen, I meant to tell you, I want you to feel comfortable. You can just call me like all my friends do. Call me Rude.
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 Rude. R-U.
Rude. No, R-double-O. Captain Kangaroo.
Oh, like a Roo. Captain Kangaroo. Okay. Hey, Roo. Now, when I was in high school, my cheerleading squad called me Roo, R-O-O, because we were all into this Winnie the Pooh thing, and we all had nicknames, and mine was Roo, R-O-O. So we're Roo squared.
I tell you what, strange how the things can work out sometimes.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Brown, I don't think he's connected to audio yet. He's still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone. Mr. Brown has left the building.
Hey, Kevin, GW.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Russ.
Then we
What's
go
that
live again.
What's the picture on your wall?
I
You know,
think that's a
during-
mug shot from when he was in high school.
Yeah, exactly. You know, during the pandemic, I watched every single episode. I watched all of The Office. I watched all of Parks and Rec. I don't know. I watched all kinds of stuff. I watched, like 3 and 4 seasons and more than that. It was crazy. So I'm up to date now on all the stuff that I never watched. Yeah, but Parks and Rec was pretty good. It's too bad. Well, I wouldn't say too bad, but it's interesting how their town ran.
I just started watching that within the last 6 months. I never watched it when it came around, so all of them are new to me. So
Yeah, me too.
I just joined. Are y'all saying y'all like that show?
Yeah. How is your office like that?
Honestly, I've never watched it.
Oh my gosh, you gotta watch it. It's so
My husband-
hilarious.
My husband, he'll watch it sometimes and has his headphones in, and he's sitting over there chuckling. But I've never watched it.
It's hilarious.
I give it a try.
Adjourn. A second. Aye. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Thanks, Tim. Bye, Dylan. Valerie. Aye. Aye. Have a good night. Good.
Hey, Mab.
More participants.
Oh, yeah. You're not on there?
I didn't get, no, I didn't get, last email I got was the one for last.
Okay.
That meeting and it says it's expired.
Okay. Interesting. All right. And I did. All right. I'll send that to you right now. Also, Chris was invited to this one too.
Perfect, yeah. I don't know if Rebecca's gonna introduce him
Tonight.
tonight or wait till Thursday, but there is something on the agenda that possibly could get asked about, but maybe
Okay.
not.
Okay.
That emergency pay thing.
Okay. All right.
All
It should be there, hopefully.
There it is.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. All right.
Bye.
See you.
Paul Painter, my friend Paul Painter.
Yeah.
And their
Oh, they're already on.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi,
I ain't seen you. I hadn't seen you in a minute,
I know it,
like 1 minute.
a long time. I don't get it on big screen. I don't get it on big screen. Carry on.
Hello, everybody.
Greetings.
Hello.
Hey, Bob.
Hola.
The longest minute ever.
I'm not sure if we're ever going to go back to all meeting in the same room together.
It'll come.
Maybe 2021.
Hey, guys. I want to introduce Chris Grant. He's the new HR director, and he gets to sit in on this first meeting with us. So, hi, Chris. Hi.
Hey, Chris.
Chris.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Oh,
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll bring the Parks and Recreation Committee to order and turn it over to Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Good evening, everyone. We do have 4 items on the agenda tonight. The first being the purchase of amenities for Short Central. Dream and the business owners along Short Central had reached out to the town about providing some additional seating and trash cans for that street. It was proposed that the town would purchase those tables. Dream is going to provide and maintain the umbrellas, and then the business owners would be responsible for the daily cleaning and maintenance of those tables. To purchase 8 tables, 2 ADA tables, and 4 trash cans, the cost is $9,738. This would be coming from hospitality funds. So we just wanted to bring this item to you, make you aware, make sure everyone was in agreement, or if there was any feedback.
Are these tables are going to be the extension of Short Central?
Yes, so currently there are a few tables that are right there at the front of Short Central, but these would be spread out the length of the road.
And do those tables at the front belong to us or to the businesses?
They belong to Eclectic Chef, but those will be going away and being replaced with what we purchase. And the tables that we're going to purchase are the ones, if you're familiar, they're right there between Town Hall and Annex Building. The black metal ones where the seating's attached, so they don't have the loose chairs like what's currently there on Short Central.
Are they going to be tied down to the road? Or are we going to be able to move those?
We'll be able to move those. Yeah, they're fairly heavy. So we're not going to tie those down.
Okay.
I'm not on the committee, but I do have a question. Would the tables be designated for particular restaurants or bars, or would they be randomly spaced?
They're going to be, yeah, they're going to be randomly spaced the distance of that street. So they're there for everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. The second item on the agenda.
Is there, 1 second, Amy, is there any other councilman that has an opinion on this, or should we send it to council, or is everybody good with it?
I'm good with it.
I'm good.
Bob, is there anything that, I'm good, is there anything that needs to be done to, do we push this to the finance committee meeting or to the council meeting?
We don't really need to approve it because it's under 15,000. I just wanted to make sure everybody spoke up. So
Okay,
Amy, it's a go.
Sounds great. Thank you, guys. The second item is a possible skate park expansion. So this is a project that I just wanted to kind of bring to you and tell you a little bit about. Dorchester County is interested in possibly partnering with us to expand our current skate park. I'm gathering estimates currently. The project would consist basically, it's currently 5,000 square foot. So we would expand it to 10,000, add some additional skate features. We would add some shading and seating outside of that main concrete skatable area, and then possibly lighting. If the plan would be for me to apply for a PARD grant once I get those estimates back. That PARD grant is an 80-20 split. So once we kind of figure out how much the PARD grant is awarded, the amount, the remaining balance would be split between us and Dorchester County. So this is a project I just wanted to bring to your attention that we are kind of working on behind the scenes and see if you had any feedback relating to it.
Amy,
Go ahead.
not committee, two questions. One, when we put the skate park in, there was a pretty big public outpouring of comments, mainly from the neighborhood, but especially for late use in the summer when daylight was so long. So I think we ought to approach the lighting portion of that carefully. And since we paid for the entire park as it is, it would seem to me that it's not unfair to ask Dorchester County to pay the 20% that's remaining versus us splitting it. We've already put in our 50. That's not a no, that's just my thoughts.
That's an idea. My question is, are we going to leave the parking the same as it is? It's pretty much just gravel right now, right?
It is, yeah, I didn't have any intentions of changing the parking lot currently, or as part of this project.
Okay, and then the question was, there's still like a porta potty out there, right?
There is, yes, ma'am.
Okay, has there been any problem with that at all?
Not that I'm aware of, and definitely not since I've been here.
And then my next question is to Chief Rogers. Have we had any incidents out there or problems at all?
Not that I'm aware of. I could do some research on it and verify it.
I haven't heard of anything, and so that's why I'm asking, because it just seems to me that everything out there has been very positive these last, I guess it's been out there for about 5 years now.
I'll run the last year's calls down in that area and forward it to council.
Okay.
One thing that some of the local skaters had approached me about is that when we expand is removing the fence, just because it feels very kind of enclosed to them. So if y'all have any feedback on that, that was just one idea that was thrown out to us.
I thought we put the fence in for safety reasons, so it could be locked, and the ones that I've seen in Charleston County are also fenced and locked.
That's what I thought also.
It was, and it was a way to
Yeah,
secure
I'd
it,
have to
so people
agree.
weren't on there in the middle of the night.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
I appreciate the feedback. The third item is just a quick update on the Oak Brook Ashley River Preserve. The final master or proposed final master plan, hopefully you each have received that via email. It's also currently on the website. It's been posted on social media. So right now we are just looking for any feedback that you have or that the public has. So if you've received any comments, please forward those to me. I greatly appreciate it. ESP is providing us with a couple large scale renderings, which we're going to place one at Town Hall and one here at the Rollins Edwards Community Center. And then our tentative next council meeting is going to be sometime in October, and that's when ESP Associates is going to present the architectural models and renderings with the preliminary opinion of probable cost for that project. Any questions or comments on that final proposed plan or the October meeting? Okay. The last item on the agenda is discussion of a Tennis Pro backboard. So interest was expressed in purchasing this equipment. It certainly is a piece of equipment that we would love to have. The cost for that is just right over $1,500 with shipping, taxes. It's going to be right around $2,000. We foresee putting this at Laurel Street tennis courts just because that gets the lowest amount of use. And so that would help drive some business over there and also would not interfere with some of the league plays, other things that are happening on the other tennis courts. So I'll just open the floor to get any feedback on that. Yeah.
I was the one that put this on the agenda. This is actually something that I brought up almost over a year ago when Doyle was still here. And I just personally talked to him about, hey, you know, is this something that you think that we could do? He really liked the idea, but I think that he was really busy with the Rollins Edwards Center at the time and the park opening up Hutchinson Square. And then the turnover of you coming on, Amy, I think he had forgotten to mention this. I've had a lot of people contact me about this over the last now year and a half, but I would like to see us go ahead and get this done as soon as possible. I wanted to see what the other council members thought. It's only $2,000. That even though, you know, we don't have that in our budget for this year. I want to see what you guys thought.
Anybody on council? I think the Laurel Street is a good idea.
We used to have one there on Laurel Street years ago at that tennis court, because we didn't have many other tennis courts in town. But it got used a pretty good bit. We had one there.
I'd be okay with it. What does rest of council think?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay, no nos.
Sounds good. That's everything that I had for this evening.
Now, I do have one question to y'all now that we're moving towards the architectural renderings. And I guess part of this is to GW, because we already have a firm kind of looking at an approximation of the cost. Would we want them to go ahead and do a construction evaluation, or do you think we need to go to an RFP and see if have everybody bid on it? I'm just thinking, since they're already involved in flowing.
Mr. Jackson, if I may, I spoke with Andrew yesterday about that, and Russ, and because it's going to fall into professional services, we'll be able to, we do not have to put that out for RFP. I don't know, GW, if you feel any different.
Well, took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say it was professional services, but you could certainly put out a request for proposals too. So just depends on which one you're comfortable with.
My personal feeling is the company we've with has really been responsive to council and listening and already moving forward. In expediting this, I'd like to know how the rest of the council would feel about asking them for a proposed cost and then moving on from there.
Bob, are we gonna prioritize the different, put this thing in phases with the park? Is that the plan? Because I don't know whether the building would come first or middle or last. I don't know whether we're premature getting into the building right now.
I agree with that, and I believe we'll discuss that. They're gonna break items up into individual costs for next month, what they think it might be, an approximate cost. The main thought right now is we have $2 million to move forward with either the boat landing itself and make what we have nicer, or the boardwalk. And we can discuss that as council next month when they come back with some of these costs and how far we go with the 2 million we have. I don't foresee the building being first. I'd like to get feet on the ground.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so is anybody, only negative comments, is anybody against Amy asking them for a proposal for a cost and individual costs for different items so that we can prioritize?
I think that's a good idea.
All right, Amy, no negatives.
Sounds good.
All right, any other comments or anything from the committee or anybody else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We adjourn.
Planning and development.
I'm gonna call to order the regular meeting of the Planning and Development Committee. Item A, Ms. Schuler.
Consideration of an ordinance to adopt the comprehensive plan update, Somerville, Our Town, Our Future. Planning Commission held a public hearing and adopted a resolution recommending approval at their meeting on August 17th, 2020.
I'll make a motion that we approve that to move it forward to council.
I'll second it.
All right, we got a motion and a second to forward this to council with a recommendation of approval. Any discussion, questions for Ms. Schuler about this?
I believe, Mr. Chairman, that there is a workshop prior to the next council meeting for all of council to deal with the comprehensive plan, and I think get any questions answered during the workshop and any changes or modifications made prior to the next council meeting.
If this is, if I'm not mistaken, if we approve this, we send it to council with recommendation, first reading would be Thursday night.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And of course, Councilman Jenkins was council's representative on the committee. You know, I know that when we had a retreat earlier this year, we talked about maximizing flexibility in this document, that we didn't want to tie either our hands or future council's hands, and to make it just an inflexible, rigid document that was really less of a plan and more of a piece of legislation. So I'll ask you, Councilman Jenkins, do you think, since all I have in front of me is a one-page ordinance and not a plan, do you feel that in the form that it's currently in, that we've maximized flexibility for council and future councils?
I think there are two answers to the question. I think the wording, or most of the wording, has been modified to either give, I think, greater flexibility or to match what is stated in the UDO.
Right.
And so I'm comfortable with that, particularly with all of council being able to review that before we get there. But we spent, the mayor and I, along with Jill and Rebecca, spent, I don't know, 4 hours with Jesse going through it. So I'm pretty comfortable with all of the wording. There's a few more changes that may or may not be made at council's wish. The other potential question is, there are many sections to this, and it is in greater detail than, shall we say, a North Charleston comprehensive plan. I personally became more comfortable with that because you can change it. It takes 2 readings. You don't have to go by what the Planning Commission says. You can change it, but we're not North Charleston, and we've got some pretty specific things we would like to see happen in certain areas of town. And if those don't become realities or can't become realities, we have the ability to change it. So I don't think our hands are tied in any way, shape, or form by this. I think we have the ability for us or a future council that was not involved in putting this together to have a chance to review it before they make a snap decision. So I'm comfortable.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not in the committee, but there's a couple of things that I noticed that some of it seemed to be, well, you could say wordsmithing, but on certain pages.
That's what we're gonna have the workshop for.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about that then, but I saw something about diversity in housing, and I thought you mentioned giving flexibility to the builders and people who develop housing, but I think that's very, very important going forward, that we have some guidelines as to, you know, what we expect the city to become in the future so that we can accommodate everybody. And then I had a couple of other questions, but I'll wait on the workshop.
I guess my concern is not providing flexibility for builders, but providing flexibility for us as the governing body of the town and future councils, since this document will be in operation for a decade or so. I'm concerned at the level of detail in the future land use maps. We've run into this with other proposed developments in town, where essentially an extra layer of legislative action is required, an extra public hearing, and it doesn't have to be that way. I think that a plan should be just what it sounds like, a plan. It shouldn't be a piece of legislation that has to be amended every time the council or future council wants to go in a slightly different direction. So I much prefer the North Charleston approach, but for the purposes tonight, I'm gonna vote for the motion. So unless there's further questions or discussion, I'll call for the vote on the motion to move this to council with a recommendation of approval.
I'd just like to say, and I'll hold on one sec. I just wanted to say, as one of the people that fought to get the shalls and wills in there, at that time, I felt like the flexibility of the plan was sometimes possibly being used for political reasons. I think if we want to change the shalls and wills, we should have to go to the public and tell them why. But I'll discuss it further at the workshop.
Well, we do have the UDO, and this is kind of my example. As Councilman Jenkins said, there's language in the plan that parrots the UDO. But every time we amend the UDO, if that language is in the plan, we got to go and amend the comprehensive plan, particularly if the shalls and all that is in there. And I don't believe that a comprehensive plan needs to be a separate piece of legislation that has to be amended from our regular ordinances, which would include the UDO. I just don't think that's the purpose of planning, but that's my opinion. So all those, unless there's further questions or comments, all those in favor of moving it to full council with the recommendation, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Next item.
Petition by Mary Mead Associates LP to annex Berkeley County TMS number 2320002. Beth, you get me every time when you do that. I just lost my paper.
179.
Huh?
You said 02 and then 179.
Yeah, 179 and 13, Dorchester County TMS number 13800000036. Approximately 4.7 acres, I think. I'm sorry, she made me full screen and I can't see my notes anymore. Crap.
Located on
There we go.
Berlin G. Myers Park.
Thank you. Located on Berlin G. Myers Parkway, currently zoned GC General Commercial in Berkeley County and CG General Commercial in Dorchester County, and will be zoned GB General Business upon annexation into the town of Somerville's municipal limits. This would be in Council District 1. Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on August 17, 2020. These two parcels previously came to y'all a couple of years ago, and they ended up actually withdrawing their annexation petition because the developer didn't end up going forward with the project. It will all be, well, it won't all be combined because obviously it's in two different counties, but it will all be one development on the full, it'll be a full 10-acre development, and their proposed development is for an apartment complex.
Well, it was interesting. I was looking at that piece of property. I was trying to figure out how it got into District 1, but I think I figured it out. But I guess it's okay to have some highly valued property in my district for a change.
I'll make a motion that we send this to full council for approval.
I'll second.
Any questions or further comments? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Next item, Ms. Schuler.
Proposed amendments to the Somerville Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 8, Section 8.7.4, Maintenance. Planning Commission held a and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on August 17, 2020. Just a brief explanation on this one. It's not a part of our, it was in our previous ordinance. It inadvertently got left out because it's not a part of our ordinance we use very often. But when we do need it, you know, it needs to be in there for us to be able to use it. Looking at the UDO, we could probably enforce it with the wording that currently is in there, but this just makes it clear in terms of how it's enforced and what it requires. And this is actually for requiring removal of dead trees that pose a hazard on private property.
I'll make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
Presuming that there's no discussion, all those it's a dangerous presumption, but that's what I'm doing. All those in favor, raise their hand and say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Do I have
I'll
a
second that.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Hey. Good meeting, Bill.
Public Works.
All right. Let's turn it over to Public Works. Russ, what do you have for us?
Good evening, everybody. I just have a few project updates and one other item to talk about. Any questions on project updates as I move through them, just let me know. Barrel Island Road project, this project is coming to a completion. We've actually scheduled a ribbon cutting ceremony on Tuesday, September 29th. And this may be the last time you hear an update on the Barrel Island Road project. So
Cool.
To a conclusion on this one.
What time, Russ?
That's to be determined. So we'll be reaching out to potential speakers, times, and all the details will be pulled together in the next couple of days, about a week or so. We'll have some more details and send invitations out to everybody.
Okay.
Next item is the Maple Street project. We're still acquiring right of way. We're down to about 5 parcels left before we can complete this. And we'll be again on schedule to bid later this fall. Cedar Street extension, we're still working through the preliminary design. I sent our design team back to work on some of that. We're working with a potential development at the end of that corridor, and we're trying to align the road so it doesn't impact his potential development as much as we had it showing. So we're still working through the potential design on the Cedar Street project. And I should have something to show y'all in the next month or so on that project. Central Avenue Sidewalk, we are starting the final plans for phase 1 of that project. It will go, we're thinking phase 1 will start near Carolina Avenue where the sidewalk currently ends and go to about Parsons Road. And we hope to have a draft of that final design in the next 2 months, 60 days or so. The West 5th Street sidewalk, I don't have anything to show you as I intended to, but basically that preliminary design is complete. The sidewalk is shown to be on the opposite side of Azalea Park. On that side of the road, there are less obstructions, less trees, just easier to build a sidewalk on that side versus the park side. And we'll be crossing the road near Main Street to the park side at that point. But I will share that with y'all at the next meeting. I can send an email to you after this meeting. Get any comments you have on it. The Lee Street sidewalk is currently under design as well, and I don't have anything to show you there, but when I do, I will forward that to you for any comments. North Hickory Street sidewalk, that is really complete. We're working with DOT now on permitting, but once that's permitted, we should be ready to go to bid on the Hickory Street sidewalk. The Shepherd Park drainage, this project is ready to go. It's pretty much permitted. We're submitting for a state grant to fund 75% of this project. If we acquire the grant, we would acquire about $1.4 million. It's 25% match, which will put us on the hook for about $469,000. I think that grant will be submitted later this week, and we'll hopefully hear back from it on the results in October. The US 78 North Somerville drainage study, that is still underway. We hope to get some results on that October or early November. Springview Lane, that is completed. That drainage study will be going into survey, complete final design, and acquisition of easements we need on that. Basically, that came out to be the need for a pond on Springview Lane behind the DHEC mental health facility and near the daycare center that floods on a regular basis, to build a regional detention pond, much like we're doing at Shepherd Park. So that's the results there. Any questions on any of those projects? All right, moving on to item number 2 is the LED street lighting pilot program. Dominion Energy approached staff about going into this incentive program to convert existing metal halide and sodium, high pressure sodium. It's the hodgepodge of different types of lights we have on our street light system to a LED, consistent LED fixture. So what we did is we selected an area in Somerville, downtown Brownsville area for this conversion. It's 140 lights, and that area falls between West Richardson Avenue, US 78, North Maple Street, and Cedar Street. So if you imagine that block of area, it's 140 lights. It's a 5-year contract. They would, once we sign the contract, approve it, they would release their contractors to begin converting these lights to LEDs. It'd be a 6% savings over the 5 years. And then at the end of the 5 years, we would revert back to whatever the current cost is for LEDs at the time. Right now, we see industry-wide, we see LED fixtures dropping in cost, while at the same time, the old fixtures we have increasing in cost. So the idea is in 5 years, those LED costs will be at or lower what we're paying now. Any questions on the LED project?
Well, when you told me about it, I think the main thing that got my attention was it will brighten things up, just like we did with the Gahagan ball fields, right?
It will brighten things up, and I guess the biggest advantage to it was when a light goes out, Dominion has the technology to get that notification internally, so they'll know when that light is out, and they can dispatch someone to repair it. Versus now, if a light goes out, we're kind of relying on the resident in that area to let us know so we can report it. So I'm sure there's plenty of lights out there that are not burning that maybe would be burning if we had this technology all town-wide.
Well, another good thing about it, bright lights reduce crime, so I think that's good. Years ago, we did it in Robinwood and reduced crime drastically by lighting things up. I don't know whether we're LED, but we brought in stronger bulbs and it made a difference.
Right. Any more questions on the LED project? That's all I have.
Okay, do I have any questions from our committee or other council members right now? Okay, motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion, second.
All in favor? We're adjourned.
Okay, Andrew, ready for the finance committee, sir?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. We've completed through the month of August. I'll present the August 31st financial report. Approximately 67% completed through the year. For the month of August, we collected approximately 1.7 million in revenue and expended approximately 3 million in expenditures. Of those expenditures, a majority were capital expenditures with approximately $300,400 for police vehicles, $75,000 for building and inspection vehicles, then $65,000 for an exhaust system in Fire Station 4, and then $71,000 in sidewalk projects. Then on page 2, detailed revenue collections collected approximately 235 in property taxes for the period. A little over $1 million in license permits and fees for the period, with majority of those from our insurance business license program and also our business licenses, which were due August 31st. State revenues for the period collected approximately 432,000, was majority of that from our aid to subdivision quarterly payment. Page 3, miscellaneous revenues collected approximately 64,000 in miscellaneous revenues. Majority of that coming from sale of assets and other property rental fees. The balance of our impact fees. Parks and Rec facilities impact fees balance approximately 300,000. Fire facility impact fee balance at approximately 258,000. Municipal facilities impact fee balance is approximately 387,000, which a total impact fee balance of approximately 1.35 million. Page 4, impact fee collections for the period residential, approximately 8,000 collected with no expenditures for the same period. Impact fee commercial, no collection for the period. Page 7, local hospitality tax collected approximately 188,000 for the period with expenditures of a little over 500,000 for the period, with the majority of that principal and interest for our debt payment for our limited obligation bond. Page stormwater management fund had collections approximately $9,000 and expenditures of approximately $104,000. And then that was the financial report, unless anybody had any questions.
You got any questions for Andrew? Thank you, Andrew.
All right, thank you.
Anybody got anything else good at the town?
The next is a request from Dream for Somerville Skates funding.
Mayor and council, this is the request for the Somerville Skates funding for $125,000 for the arrangement that we had last year with them. And as we discussed at our last council meeting, when we talked about this, there is a drop dead date for them. And if they were to cancel the event before that drop dead date, then none of the funds will be expended and there'll be no penalties.
And will we be having a discussion with them prior to that drop dead date, making sure that we are in concurrence with, we believe the event can go on and therefore our funds can be, it's our choice on this versus theirs, or a joint choice? How does that work?
I think that could be included in a motion.
Okay. Are we making a motion here?
To approve the funding, yes, sir.
I'd make a motion that we approve the funding, and GW will have to help me with the wording, that we as council and Dream as an entity jointly agree that the event goes forward prior to the drop dead date of losing the funds.
No second.
Is that good, GW? Does that sound good?
From what I could remember of it, it sounded fine, Mayor.
Okay.
I think what he just said is you got a way to back out before that drop dead date. And if it does not look like the event can go forward, we're on safe ground.
Okay. All right, any discussion on this, y'all?
One thing I didn't understand that Terry said, I thought he said something about a penalty if in relation to the drop dead date.
The drop dead date, if we together say this event goes forward and then we're to cancel, there are penalties. The drop dead date, if we decide that we're not going to be able to have the event, then there is no penalty. There would be no funds paid and no penalty.
We would just withhold the fund. We would just not spend the money.
Correct, because we've got, I believe the drop dead date, and I can't remember it, is a couple of days after our next council meeting in October. And I think
it's the 10th.
Yeah, and so we've got our council meeting to be able to determine how we want to move forward, and much to do with what we discussed later this week, and COVID and ordinances and all the other stuff that could affect the event. or
What-
other regulations coming down from the state.
When is the proposed opening date, if we do it?
Hold on.
Sometime around Thanksgiving, I think.
11/22, November 22nd.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor signify by raising your right hand and saying aye.
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 Opposed likewise. Ayes carried.
Next is consideration of an amendment to the town employee handbook to add emergency pay.
I'll make a motion that we approve that.
I'll second the motion and ask that Rebecca explain exactly what this is. This is not anything that's costing us money. It's a potential money saver going forward.
Yes, sir. Currently, the town's compensation for events that are declared disasters by the state or the federal government is currently our ordinance. It's very vague, and because of that, we have not been getting reimbursed by FEMA for certain expenditures during an event, such as emergency pay. So this would amend the personnel ordinance and add a new emergency pay section. It would replace the special compensation for exempt employees and add in a section called emergency pay plan. And this would allow us to pay staff, non-exempt and exempt staff that have to come out during an actual emergency. It would only go into play when town council approves it. So if you declare a state of emergency or there's a federal or state state of emergency, but ultimately council would still approve when it goes into effect. But the plan would be approved beforehand. And that's what you need in place before an event for FEMA to be able to reimburse you. We did emergency pay during the coronavirus whenever we were closed down, and it's questionable whether or not we're going to get reimbursed for that because we created the plan in the middle of the event, and of course FEMA doesn't like that. They want you to have a pre-approved plan. This plan mirrors Dorchester County's plan and has been approved by FEMA, and they've received reimbursement several times through using this plan and this method.
Thank you.
Like it. Super.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by raising your right hand and saying aye.
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 Opposed likewise.
Thank
Ayes
you.
carried.
Next is a discussion of the 2021 millage.
I would move that we keep the millage rate at exactly what it is now.
I'll second that.
That's hard to believe, Billy.
Well, I'm a fan of cutting millage, but I think that under the circumstances that we find ourselves, it would be irresponsible to cut millage, but it would be even more irresponsible to raise millage on property owners that are about to get hammered.
Okay, motion on the floor in a second. Any discussion?
Rebecca, is there any additional information on this that we ought to understand why this was on the agenda?
Yes, sir. And I think I wrote it. No, I didn't. I was going to write a memo. I did not. So as part of, each year, the auditors about this time come knocking for your millage rates. And because our budget year is the calendar year, not a fiscal year, we usually don't have those rates, or we're just in the process of creating whether we want to keep taxes the same or reduce them. So, we're usually just in the process of our budget. But this is the time of year where they ask for your millage rate because the tax bills go out in October. So what we're just asking for, is an affirmation of the current rates because that's what we would like to keep them at right now so that we can satisfy all three county auditors and then move forward with hope of, kind of looking at the millage next year and figuring out what it is that we need to do, and looking at our stormwater fees and some of our other fees just to, look at them. But this is definitely not the year to consider a tax increase. And, we're not proposing one, but this is something that council needs to affirm the village so that it can be sent on to all three of the auditors.
Thank you.
Just to remind me, what is the current millage?
59.5.
59.5?
Yes, sir.
Right,
And-
yeah, right, below 60, yeah, okay. That's what I thought. I wanted to be sure.
Any more discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand, saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, likewise, ayes carried. No millage rate increase.
All right. Next is an authorization to issue a purchase order to Motorola Solutions in the amount of $47,272.26 for 6 APX all-band consulates for the police department. Funds to come from budgeted communications capital for server upgrades, and this is on a state contract.
I'll make a motion that we approve this, Mr. Mayor.
Second,
I'll second that.
motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand, saying aye.
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 Ayes carried. Okay, Beth.
Next, we have surplus vehicles. All of the vehicles were purchased with drug funds, and the proceeds will go back to those funds. There is P34, a 2008 Chevrolet Impala, P217, a 2010 Ford Explorer, P228, a 2012 Dodge Van, P290, a 2017 Ford Explorer, and P297, a 2016 Harley Davidson.
Hear a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve all of those.
Second it.
Motion made and seconded that we get rid of these surplus vehicles. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand, saying aye.
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 Opposed, likewise. Ayes carried.
Excuse me, Mayor. If
Yes,
I
ma'am.
could, my screen keeps on freezing up, so I'm not hearing everything. Is that the same for all of you?
No.
Oh,
No,
Maybe your internet connection.
Okay, all right. If I don't vote on something, it's because my screen's frozen.
All
Sorry.
right, that's not frozen. You're moving around good, Kim.
It's good right now.
I can see you voting.
Nothing left to vote on
That's good.
other than adjourning. I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Ayes carried. Meeting's adjourned.
Y'all be safe, guys.
Bye.
Everybody
All
take
right,
care.
thank you.
See you Thursday night.
See you Thursday night. Have a good night. Be safe. Avoid COVID-19.
That's right.